Hey guys, Phillips here. Welcome to the December 13th DVD update. I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I always say, guys, if you enjoy these updates, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you thought of the titles I checked out in this update, any future titles coming up you would suggest I check out, and some of the things you guys have picked up lately. The first one I got from Scream Factory, and this is one, Shout Factory's Scream Factory line, and I don't feel like I had ever seen this one before. I always loved Hellraiser, Nightbreed I really liked, but this is one that for some reason I had never seen until now, and it's Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions. For some reason I kept on saying Lords of Illusion, but it's Lord of Illusions. And I thought this one was pretty good. It wasn't, as strong of a movie as Nightbreed and, the Hellraiser film, the first one mainly, and the second one. But, to me, I think the best parts of this movie was like the beginning and then the end. Like when it was like in a certain setting. I don't want to like talk about too much about it, but it's pretty much about like this crazy guy who's like this cult leader, and he ends up like, kind of almost like doing these magic and these crazy like illusions and all these kind of things. In the beginning of the movie, you see him getting killed off, and then this one, getting saved by this guy. Years later, the guy, is basically, kind of become like, this is before Chris Angel and all this stuff, but he's like almost like a Chris Angel kind of guy, has like a show that he travels around with doing these magic, and he's pretty successful and kind of become a celebrity of it. And you're kind of like wondering, is he doing these things because he stole the power of the magic of the guy in the beginning of the film? And it's pretty much about, though, the cult with the guy in the original movie is going around, and like weird things are happening to people, and like the police are trying to investigate it because the guy ends up, in the beginning of the movie doing this trick, and he ends up dying. And it's kind of like about like the investigation of it. That's pretty much what it is like the cop investigating the thing, and then like the weird things happening. It doesn't have like as many of the, it does in like the beginning and the end, but it doesn't have as many of the kind of weird, creepy visuals that like, Nightbreed had. Like Nightbreed to me is a really, really cool movie, and like there's some really cool aspects of it, the music and everything. This one, like I said, it's a cool movie, just not as cool as the other ones, but some cool, like creepy. Like I said, I really loved the beginning and the end. That's where I really was the most interested in it. But it has on here the director's cut of the film and the original cut of the film. I thought it looks, really good. Scream Factory always, to me, does a really good job cleaning these up. Also has a new, it's a commentary track on here, so I'm pretty sure it's a new one. Featurettes, original behind-the-scenes footage, deleted scenes, and interviews with storyboard artists. But, I mean, if you're a fan of Clive Barker, I would definitely suggest checking it out. Like I said, though, it's not as strong as Nightbreed and, Hellraiser, but still a cool movie with some cool visuals. The next one from Paramount is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this is the 3D edition, the Blu-ray with the 3D, the regular edition, the DVD, and the digital copy. And, to me, like I grew up with the Ninja Turtles. I saw the second one in theaters. To me, the second one was always my favorite. For some reason, I always had some kind of a fear as a kid of the first movie. Like when they first came out of the sewers, like as a kid, I used to always like turn it off. I couldn't take it for some reason. I don't know what it was with me in that. But like, it was kind of like with the witches. I always had to leave the room with the, Grand High Witch. It's something about it. So to me, my favorite Turtles was always the second one, because the first one I didn't watch till years later. But, I had, watched the show, the cartoon. As a very little kid, had all the toys and everything. So, this is the reboot of the Turtles, like the whole new, with the new origin story and everything. The Turtles are now CGI. But, they don't look terrible. I mean, it's, done with motion capture. And it's, I thought it was a different take on the whole thing. Like I said, the origin is expanded upon so much about how they became the Turtles and their relationship with, April O'Neil's character. And, the Shredder, I don't think Shredder looks as cool as he did in the original ones. In the original ones, he just had a really cool look, and it was, the original two movies were more about, like, kung fu and kind of like, that kind of vibe to it. The new ones don't have that feel as much to it. Like, it doesn't have, I don't know, it doesn't have the same exact vibe to it. I still liked it, though. Like, to me, it still had the same kind of feel, of the Turtles. I mean, it didn't, like, not seem at all to me like the Turtles, and I liked it. I mean, after I saw it out of the theaters, I still didn't think it was a terrible movie or anything. I don't think it's as good as the original ones, but I'm interested in seeing, too, I'm pretty sure they're doing sequels to this, so I'm interested in seeing, where they go with them, because I think the Bebop and Rocksteady character, are going to be in the next one. I just kind of hope, it's crazy. I kind of wish they put like Vanilla Ice in it, and have like that kind of '90s music and like I don't know. I just, to me, I guess it's the nostalgia thing of it. But it has on here a bunch of featurettes, the making a music video, extending, ending. But I think it's a fun movie. I think people will like it. I think, to me, it's like I said, it's not as good as the original ones, but still, I think it's worth watching. The next one from Warner Brothers is This Is Where I Leave You. When they were promoting, their trailers and stuff didn't really talk about why the family was together as much. But it's like I can't remember what it was exactly what it was. It was a Jewish tradition. It was so they were all together before this, like the Shavah or something like that. But it was in the movie, the family's father dies in the beginning, and his last wish, was the mother calls and tells them about it, Jane Fonda, and tells them that the last wish is for them all to get together. So the whole family ends up coming together. It's Jason Bateman and Tina Fey and everything, and they all come together, and it's under the same roof for years. They haven't been together in years. And they have to stay there for I think it's like over a week together, and try and get along. And they all kind of have arguments with each other, and kind of have their own types of issues and things like that. So it's about them all coming together and kind of trying to, because that's what the father wanted, was them all to get back together and be a family again. So it's like they're all back together in the same roof as a family again, like they were years ago. So it's kind of about them and all kinds of things happening. I actually did like it. I mean, there was some parts of it that were a little slow, but I mean, the ultimate outcome of the movie I really liked. I really liked Jason Bateman. Really loved Bad Words Late. I thought Harvard Bosses 2 was really good. I mean, I thought it was better than the first one. And I think if you're a fan of Jason Bateman, and I think you'd like this one. It's got on here too. Some interviews and outtakes and things like that, and deleted scenes. But I actually liked it. It's one of those good, like, kind of feel-good movies with that kind of vibe to it. The next one is The Good Lie, the Reese Witherspoon movie. I should mention, too, I saw The Wild. Really love that one. And The Good Lie, because I'm just dyslexic, I even want to say The Good Life. It's not The Good Life, though. I don't know why I keep thinking that. But this is basically a true story about a family from Africa who was, I don't remember all the details of it, but in the 90s, I believe it was I think it was 90. No, it was right before 2001 that they all came over, but I think it was. I don't remember all the facts of it, but they end up being kind of refugees in Africa, and it's like their journey, and then they end up coming over to America to work. The family end up getting split up with their sister, and they come there, and Reese Witherspoon's character is kind of working at the job place, and it's her job to kind of place them at work and find them jobs. But it's such a culture shock to them, like they haven't ever seen a McDonald's, they haven't ever seen all kinds of technology and things like that, so they really don't have any job skills or know anything about any of this kind of stuff because they didn't have any of this. So it's kind of about her trying to find a way to get them a job, and about them also really wanting to be back with their sister who went to another state, and they want to have her come back. But it's like this kind of group that doesn't believe it's proper if she lives with them in this house. And it was a kind of sad too, what was going on. But I always kind of like those like culture shock things too, when you have to see other people and how they adapt to things they aren't used to and things like that. I thought Reese Witherspoon was good in this too, but it has on here deleted scenes and a making of. Like I said, I thought this was a pretty cool movie. Well done and things like that. And the next one from Universal is As Above, So Below, and this has a really cool raised look to the cover to it. I can see it like that. I like this movie, and also the other one that came out. There was a found footage movie that people are talking about, the Pyramid. I really liked as well. But this one, had like a bit more of a budget, I think, than the Pyramid. But this one was basically about a group of people who were going and exploring the catacombs under Paris. And, all these creepy things were happening to them in it. There were some really pretty creepy visuals in the thing. I know there's a lot of found footage movies, and, some of them, work and some of them don't. I will say there were some things in this movie that I kind of wish went in different ways, and they didn't take it certain directions, and this would have happened, because it might have made it a little bit creepier. But overall, though, it's a pretty cool movie about them going underneath this catacombs and exploring and trying to find this thing. And, you know, all these creepy things they're seeing. And, like, because it's basically when they get down there, it's almost like their own personal hell. And they're kind of like things from their past that haunt them or coming to haunt them down there. You know, the trailer showed a lot of it, but that's the only pain. There's, like, the trailer kind of showed about a bunch of the stuff. But, you know, every time I think of, like, your own personal hell, I always think of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And it was kind of like that. You know, when they get down there, it's almost like that, but like, you know, an R-rated edition of that. And them seeing all these terrible things and things like that. I think people should check this out, though. I really like this one. I also like the music in it, too. It has some cool kind of music in it. It also has a pretty cool setting, because they really haven't done many movies in the catacombs, and it does make a very cool setting to the movie as well. I'm surprised they didn't put on here, because there's a lot of promotional stuff, like I believe a couple of YouTubers going into the catacombs. It would be kind of cool if they included that, but it has a little making of thing on here. The next one from Anchor Bay, I actually just watched this tonight. Mainly wanted to watch this because I watch everything Juno Temple's in, but this is Daniel Radcliffe in Horns, and this was really pretty cool. It was a very, you know, it has a lot of different meanings to it, and one of those movies with a really pretty cool story to it. The director of this, you know, directed the Hills Have Eyes remake, and Piranha 3D, and this is Horns. And this is pretty much about, you know, the relationship with Daniel Radcliffe and Juno Temple, you know, and they met years ago when they were, you know, teenagers, and at the beginning of the movie you see how in love they are, and then you find out right afterwards that she was killed, and everyone thinks that he did it, and they, you know, people can't believe that he did this, and, you know, he keeps on saying that he didn't do it. And, you know, people, you know, in the town don't want him eating in the restaurants, don't want him coming to the bars. Like, everyone has got pretty much bad views of the guy now. And then all of a sudden he ends up growing these horns on his head, you know what I mean, and looking like the devil, these devil horns. And, you know, people, when he goes around people, you know, with these horns, only when he gets the horns, they start saying, like, their deepest, like, hatred of things. Like, the parents say to him how he was a screw-up and they wish he didn't do this, and, you know, he goes to the doctors, and the doctor's saying how he wants to sleep with his assistant, and basically, like, they admit everything, and they're saying all kinds of horrible things, and people will do anything that he says, because so it's very, the whole thing of it is, though, he gets these horns in the hopes of figuring out who, you know, killed, you know, his girlfriend, you know, if it was him, if he actually did it, you know, he says he didn't, but if it was someone else around him, or who did it. I really liked this. Like I said, I watched all Juno Temple's movies. I thought she was good in this. I thought the person, too, who played a younger her actually really was a pretty good casting, because she actually looked like her. The younger Daniel Radcliffe didn't really look like him, though. But the casting on her was really pretty good. I like this, though. I thought this was a really pretty cool story. A little sad, too. But I really like this. This is definitely one of my favorite things that I've watched in a while. The next one from Lionsgate is the new Kevin Smith movie. This is like the second horror. This is way more horror than Red State. Red State was horror drama. This is more of a horror kind of comedy. And they don't even advertise this, but online you can figure this out. And he's in most of the movie. You know, Johnny Depp is in this movie. And I'm not really ruining anything. It's all on IMDb and everything. And he was my favorite thing in the whole movie. I mean, he's absolutely amazing in this. And he's so over the top. And crazy, and there's a scene of him like smashing down a cheeseburger that I love. But this is about Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment. They're like podcasters, and they're, you know, going to. Justin Long is going. Haley Joel Osment won't go because he doesn't like to fly. Justin Long is flying to do this interview with this, you know, viral star who, like, you know, had an accident with his sword, and I believe that's what it was. But when he gets there, the guy had already died, so he has to try and find somebody else to interview, otherwise he's going to go back with nothing. So he ends up seeing this thing on the wall in a place he's at that's like says this old man who has all these stories to tell. So he ends up going to see this guy, and when he gets there, the guy is, you know, played by Michael Parks, you know, ends up basically drugging him. Justin Long wakes up and has found out that the guy has these plans for him, which is, you know, wants to do something terrible to him, you know, involving like a walrus. I don't want to talk about too many details of it, but it's pretty much like a Human Centipede kind of movie, but like way more of a comedic take on the thing. It also is pretty sad, though. I mean, it really does have a pretty sad vibe to it. And it's one of those movies, too, when you first watch it, you don't know what to take because it's just so weird and it's so different for Kevin Smith. Like, it really hardly feels like Kevin Smith. But after you think about it, I really liked it a lot more. Like I said, too, I wish that they could advertise that Johnny Depp is in it. Because, like I said, he's in it for, like, at least 40 minutes. And he is really funny in it. Like, he really is one of my favorite aspects of the movie. Also, I'm really glad to see Haley Joel Osment back. You know, because he took a while off. And I've always been a fan of him, and I thought he was really pretty good in this. And also, they're doing that Jogan Hosers movie, and it's kind of it connects a bit to this. Because I think he's doing like a whole new trilogy of kind of movies that he does. But definitely check this out. It has a bunch of features on here, a commentary, the podcast that inspired this, the making of featurettes. But this is just a really weird, fun, kind of human centipede vibe movie. The next one from Lionsgate as well is The Skeleton Twins, which is the Bill Hader, Kristen Wiig film. And it's about a brother and sister who haven't seen each other. And I think it was, 10 years they hadn't seen each other. And, Bill Hader's character is, in the beginning of the movie, attempts suicide. He's very depressed. Kristen Wiig is depressed as well. They're both very depressed. They end up, coming back together again after all these years. And it's kind of about them, all these years coming back and just like their time together and almost like they never, were apart at all. And about them kind of trying to get their lives figured out. Luke Wilson is her husband, is Kristen Wiig's husband. It's also about Bill Hader. He had this kind of relationship with his teacher when he was younger. It was very inappropriate because he was way young, and the teacher, had all these problems because of it. And it's about him trying to see the guy again, and it's a very weird thing going on. It's just a very, very, well-made, well-acted movie. I really like both Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig. It's a really good, movie that stands out for them, too, on an acting standpoint. Has a bunch of features on here, gag reel, outtakes, but definitely check this out. I really thought this was a great movie. The next one from Lionsgate as well, from the After Dark original. Because I don't think they have the actual Horror Fest anymore. I think now they produce under the line After Dark Original, I'm pretty sure. I do wish that the Horror Fest would come out, because I like that, because then they would find a lot of pretty cool movies and like lesser known directors that way. But this one is After Dark Original Sanatorium, and it's been a couple movies with the Sanatorium name lately, and this one is about a kind of like a ghost hunter show. But I will say on the subject of like making a show about ghost hunters, the casting on the people, they don't look like the typical ghost hunter groups. You know what I mean? Like there's, like with Grave Encounters and stuff, they did a really good job with like picking like people that look like those ghost shows. These people don't really look like they know what they're doing as much. They don't have that kind of look to them, or like seem like they really care about this. But it's like they have like this real popular show going around places like, looking for ghosts and things like that. And they go to this old sanitarium where they had bad things happen. This guy, killed these kids and hanged himself. And they kind of go there and they're investigating, and, weird things start happening to them, and they're filming it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like super creepy or anything. And it just wasn't as amazing as I was hoping it was going to be. Like I said, though, there's just been a lot of these kind of movies. It's okay. I think some people might like it, but it's just wasn't my absolute favorite. The next one, though, I actually like this one a lot. I noticed there's something with the sound on this that was kind of off. I don't know what it was. Because when you listen to the trailer, it didn't seem like that, but in the movie, I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was just something, because I've never noticed it before, but if anyone else notices that, let me know. But it's called The Devil's Hand, with Jennifer Carpenter in it, and it's pretty much about these 6 girls who are born the same day, and it's like the 6th day of the 6th month, and they're in this kind of like cult community, like almost like Amish, and the whole community is kind of afraid of these girls, and like they kind of think they're like the devils and things like that. And one of them, in the movie gets killed, and it's kind of about trying to figure out who did this. And like, since they all have these kind of fears of these girls, it's like, is it this person or is it that person? And it's about them kind of together and trying to, one trying to figure out what's going on. like I said, I thought it was a pretty cool, like, cult. I always like those kind of like Amish kind of cult kind of things, and I really thought this was actually pretty good. I mean, I was kind of hoping that they were going to do one thing with it though, and then they ended up going the other way with it. I was hoping that it was kind of going to be this. I don't know if you watch it, you kind of know what I mean, because I thought it would have been actually kind of cooler if it didn't do what it did. Just because I was like, oh, because you know what I mean. I don't know. But I think it's. I actually really like this a lot. Like I said though, I don't know what was with the sound. It was almost like the sound was too loud on the one side of it, and I don't know what that was. But that's the only thing. And I wanted to mention that just because I just don't know what that was going on. But I thought, like I said, I feel too bad about that going on. But you could still watch it and everything fine. But I like this one though. I really, really like this a lot. The next one from Lionsgate through A&E, put this A&E is Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas. I actually watched this on TV as well because I'm a really big fan of Aubrey Plaza. That was like the main reason I wanted to see this, and she does the voice of Grumpy Cat. And the reason why she did it was because she was able to improvise, from what I heard, most of what she says in the movie, and kind of poke fun at it and say like, "Oh, this is so bad, and this is what crap." And I thought it was actually kind of funny that she was like pointing jokes about Lifetime movies and making. I actually watched some Lifetime movies. Like, I mean, some of them are actually okay, but she's kind of like pointing out jokes about them and things like that. This is kind of like a Paul Blart kind of movie a little bit. And I always like, movies in malls. You know me in mall movies. So this is kind of like, oh, for a mall movie, it was actually pretty good. But it's about these kind of like bumbling criminals. And these are almost, in this one, they're kind of like more like hipster kind of criminals. And, normally it's like a Harry and Marv kind of guy. These ones are kind of like hipster types. And they end up, coming up, there's like, where Grumpy Cat lives is this, at the pet store. They have this like dog that they say is worth like $1 million, and the owner has all these money problems, so he wants to sell this dog. So the criminals end up coming up with the idea of stealing this dog. The same day, the girl like is in there and goes in there. I forget how she gets in there, but she's there, and it's basically about her and Grumpy Cat trying to, save them all. I liked it though. I mean, it's really silly and everything, but I liked it. The next one from Sony. This is another one of my top recommendation ones. I like Woody Allen movies. Some are better than others, and I like some of these period movies a lot. I really do. And it's Magic in the Moonlight. This is with Colin Firth, and he's like someone who goes and investigates. He's like a really big magician, and he has this kind of like Asian character that he plays underneath all this makeup. And he's one of his friends who's a magician, kind of like a second fiddle to him. He's like, they're both kind of the same, but he comes to him and talks about how this family is being kind of, they think he might be getting swindled or something. And he says he can't figure out how Emma Stone's character is doing all these things and predicting what people's pasts are and all these kind of things about them. And he actually thinks she might be the real deal, and he can't figure it out. So he has Colin Firth come to this family and kind of investigate her undercover. But, immediately she starts knowing things about him, and it's kind of him trying to, someone who doesn't believe in any of this stuff at all, figure out what is going on and how she's knowing all these things about him. And they also start to kind of like each other a little bit. There is kind of a big age gap between them, so it is kind of funny, though. The idea of them together, because he's so much older than her, like it's more like her father. But I don't know. Like I said, I really like this one. It has a Behind the Magic featurette on here and on the red carpet. But like I said, I really like this one. I thought this was really good. Really like Emma Stone too. That was the main reason I wanted to see it. But like I said, I think about me in these kind of like period piece movies, like when they're done right, I really like them. The next one from MPI, through IFC Midnight, I had to put a cover up because it was like, sort of see a butt in underpants, and, YouTube can say stuff about it. But this one's Cam to Cam. This is a horror movie. Like, I feel like the cover, though, stores wouldn't take it because of the cover, but was actually really like this movie a lot. It's, if they do get it in Walmart, I bet it'll be a different cover. Like, they put, like, a different thing, because I've seen a lot of times when they have, like, alternate covers. So this might be an alternate cover. But it's about this girl in the beginning of the movie who's talking on cam to this other girl. She, and she's kind of talking to her, and like they're kind of like hitting on each other, and then she's like, take off your clothes, and like these things are going on between them, and she's watching going, what is going on, because how are you stripping and typing at the same time? So she kind of realizes that the whole thing is something weird that's going on. Then of course someone breaks into the house or gets into the house and ends up killing her, and this isn't spoiling anything. And then it's a couple months later, this person is coming. This is set in Bangkok. Is coming there to look for a room because she's staying there for a while, and she ends up, of course, getting in the same room, and she ends up in the place that she's at. They tell her about this cam to cam site, and it's kind of about figuring out what is going on, and why these people are getting killed and stuff like that. It was a really one thing about it though is, I feel like at the end of the movie, they didn't 100% know, and I think even the filmmakers might say that, they didn't totally know what they were doing with the end of the movie. I kind of felt like it got a little bit jumbled, a little bit confused, just because there's something about it that was just kind of off at the end. And I almost know if maybe the movie should have been longer, or maybe they cut stuff out of it, I don't know. But I really, really, really like this movie. I thought the guy who was in the beginning of the movie, you see who comes in to kill, was a really pretty cool character in the movie, and I thought like the whole thing kind of putting the pieces together about what all this was, and it is a very relevant movie about these kind of cam sites, and like thinking like, oh, these people in these cam sites, like what if they're doing this forced against their own will to do this, and it's like, it makes it all the creepier. Highly, highly, highly would recommend this movie. It's not, like I said, it's like a pretty low budget movie and everything, but I really like this. The next one, and the actress from this is from the show Awkward, and the new Haunted House 2, and this is At the Devil's Door. This is from MPI as well, and this is about it's very weird. Like the girl from Awkward goes to this like trailer, and she like puts her hand in this thing, and it's like, if you put your hand in this and grab this money, you're supposed to take it to like the end of the... It's basically you get paid to do it or something, but it's like some weird kind of rituals thing going on. But as soon as she does it, something weird happens to her that night, and you see her like get her back all crinked up, and you see her then wake up like is she dead? What's going on? And then you see this girl who's a real estate agent is trying to sell off the house because the girl has gone missing and the family doesn't know where she is, and it's pretty much about her trying to sell the thing. But then like she starts seeing the girl in this house like traipsing around with this red hood on, and weird things are going on. It's got some weird stuff to it, like weird kind of vibes and things like that. There was pretty creepy stuff in it. The director of this directed The Pact, which I really liked. There's not too much else to say because you can't really ruin too much about it. It has on here commentaries and deleted scenes. I like this one though. Like I said, I was really interested in seeing it because of the girl from Awkward. There's some kind of creepy aspects to it. Like I said, you can't say too much about this one without kind of ruining parts of it. The next one is another one of my top recommendation ones. This is director Brad Anderson, who did The Machinist, Session 9, and this is Stonehurst Asylum. This is from Millennium. I think the one title, because in the movie they actually go to Stonehurst Asylum, Lunatic Asylum. I don't think they put Lunatic on the front though. This one has some really good cast in this. Ben Kingsley, Michael Caine, Jim Sturgis, and Kate Beckinsale. But it's about this doctor who ends up coming to, going for training at a lunatic asylum. And then he gets there, and it's something very strange about this place. And he gets there, for his training, and soon after he discovers that there is something very, very weird about the staff of this place, and something is really, really off, and he has to figure out how he's going to end up fixing things and trying to figure things out. It's kind of funny too when you think about like what they put people away for, like hysteria and things like that. Because that's what Kate Beckinsale was put away for. Like they put people away back then for really weird stuff. Like most people would be put away now back then. It was kind of like interesting when you think about all that kind of stuff. but really good cast and good like crazy people in this. If you like movies about like really crazy like nuts and things like that in lunatic asylums and things like that, check this out. This has a really cool creepy vibe to it. Like I said, I don't want to ruin anything about it or what's going on or what the twists and things are in this. The one actor in this as well is in the Island of Dr. Moreau remake. Always been a fan of that guy. He's really cool in this. Like I said, though, with this cast, too, you can't go wrong with Ben Kingsley and Michael Caine in it. It's a really cool movie. And the next one from Fox, and this one I just really wanted to see. The first movie is one that I watch like pretty much every Christmas. I saw this in theaters. Wish when at the time I would have bought those Turbo Man dolls at Walmart because they're really expensive now. It's Jingle All the Way 2. With Larry the Cable Guy. Like I said, I just really wanted to see this. It's not that direct-to-video kind of thing, but it's pretty much, Larry the Cable Guy, and, it's so silly to even talk about it, but Larry the Cable Guy, lives in this trailer, and his, daughter is, his wife is getting remarried, to this really rich guy, and, he finds out what she wants for Christmas, and it's this bear that's really popular because she sees the list of Santa, and he peeks at it. And it's about him trying to get this doll, but at the same time, the new father, her new father is, stepfather is basically trying to do anything he can to make it so Larry can't get the doll, and he ends up looking like the good guy for Christmas and getting what she wants. So this kind of guy going around buying up all the dolls, out from all the stores. So he's like truckloads of them, so then Larry can't get them. And that's pretty much what it is. And there's some kind of fun aspects to it, but it's definitely not going to live on as like a good sequel or a follow-up to the first movie. I mean, the first movie is such a fun movie and such a great Christmas movie. This, on the other hand, isn't. But like I said, though, there are some aspects of it that are okay. But we can all admit we would much rather watch it with Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger again. And I'm really surprised they couldn't get Sinbad to at least be in this. At least find a way to tie it together. You know what I mean? In some way. Because, like, if they had Sinbad in it, then it might make it a little bit better. But Larry the Cable Guy can't compete to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he's not bad. I kind of like him more when he did that Only America show. Just because I think he's that character, because it is a character, works a little bit better like that. The next one from Vertical Entertainment is Antidote. It's a pretty cool cover, and the guy kind of looks like Casper Van Dam on this cover. It isn't him, but it sort of looks like him a little bit. And this is pretty much about, like at the end of everyone's turning into zombies, and it's like this couple who are trying to get away, but, at the beginning of the movie, the guy's got a scratch on him. So there's kind of like this cure that can cure it, but it has all these, like, side effects of, like, making people kind of crazy and violent. And it's about this, the wife has to keep injecting the guy, and he keeps getting worse. It's almost like it'd be better if he was a zombie, because he keeps on being worse from these side effects. It didn't have as many zombies in it as you would hope, though. There was more, like, in one setting and things like that. There's another one, too, recently like this. I can't remember what it was, but it was in kind of one setting. But it was kind of interesting, because there aren't too many movies where they have, like, an actual antidote to it. So they kind of know they can do this, and this can kind of cure it. So that kind of added a little bit of a different take on it. The next one from Comedy Central is The Kroll Show, seasons 1 and 2. This is a pretty funny, it's kind of in the style of Tim and Erick, and Tim Heidecker is actually in a couple episodes of this, and as my favorite is the Ghost Hunters segment. They do this spoofing ghost hunting shows, but they spoof all kinds of pop culture things, TV shows, and a lot of reoccurring characters and him in drag. And it's The Kroll Show, volume 1 and 2. I actually think this is pretty funny. Like, I never really saw this when it was on, but it's a pretty funny sketch show, like I said, kind of in this sort of vibe of Tim and Erick. The next one is Broad City Season 1. This is Amy Poehler is the producer on this one. But it's got a whole bunch of cameos in this. Fred Armisen is in it, and who else was in this one? I think Amy Sedaris, from Stranger with Candy, I believe, was in this. And this is kind of like a female kind of version, a little bit of Workaholics, that same kind of vibe to it. It was also based on a show on the internet, a web series. but it's about these two girls in the city and kind of about like the things they go into, like trying to get into concerts, trying to do this, and you know, all kinds of their problems they run into and things like that. It's a pretty funny show though, and like I said, this is the first season, Broad City season 1. The next one, I'm glad they continue to put these out. I always been a really big fan of this show. I mean, it's, you know, it's got some silly aspects to it, but I've always liked this. And it's Happy Days, the complete 6th season. You know, I always watched the reruns of this as a kid. You know, always been like a fan of Henry Winkler, and it's pretty much, you know, everyone pretty much knows the show. But this one has like some classic episodes of this when Fonzie thinks that he has had no, the one Potsy character thinks that he got like a curse on his arm. This woman put a curse on him. And then that one, and then the one where they go and work on this dude ranch, and they kind of have all these problems on the dude ranch. And, you know, they also have on here the Mork, you know, anniversary reunion show. But this is, you know, about Richie Cunningham and his family, and then, like, the Fonz, like, the cool guy, and just kind of like their adventures and the fun things they go on. You know, two really look well cleaned up on DVD. Like I said, this is just a really fun show. Keep supporting this because I want to see all the other seasons come out because there's still a lot more seasons of this to come out. The next one, this is in a really cool case. I want to talk about this case. It's like in some kind of like, I don't know if it's like magnetic or what this is, but it like kind of like opens and like it's like, sees like that, and it comes out. But it's a pretty cool, different type of case, and even the way the discs are held in there, they're like in there like held in, kind of interesting. It's like I don't know, it's a different kind of like futuristic case, and I think they kind of gave it a futuristic case to kind of like, since it's like a futuristic show about Halle Berry's character who goes into space, and then, you know, she was someone who couldn't have any kids, but then she comes back from space, and then they found out that she's somehow pregnant, but she was away on a mission. It was just her for, you know, 13 months, so it makes no sense, and it's kind of, you know, how she's pregnant, and it's about her trying to figure out what happened and how she's pregnant. Same time, too, they have this robotic son that the husband made because they couldn't have kids, and he's trying to, you know, bring the line alive. Like I said, I just started watching this. It's a pretty interesting show. You know, you don't see a whole lot anymore of, like, space shows and things like that, but it has a bunch of, like, featurettes on here, a gag reel, deleted scenes on a number of different episodes. But this is a pretty cool show, though, and Steven Spielberg is one of the producers on this one. And the last one from Abrasive, I think it's, yeah, Apprehensive Films. This one, I was a little disappointed with this one because this wasn't as cool as I was hoping this was going to be. You know, I don't know, it doesn't have a whole lot to it. And it was one of those ones that really disappointed me. It's Attack of the Morningside Monster. I was really kind of hoping for something out of this. You know, I always watch Timmy Shepard's movies. It's about like these people getting killed off, and then the cops kind of trying to investigate it and everything. But the killer isn't really that cool, and the mask isn't that good. And then there's like a lot of really weak aspects to it. And it has this one point when it's like campers that you know, by the fire, and you're kind of hoping, oh, maybe it's going to fire on these characters, and it's going to be kind of like stuff about them, the camp getting stalked by this killer and things like that. But then it doesn't, you know, really do that. Like I said, I hate when I really, really don't like something, and I don't like to talk bad about it, especially indie films, because you know, I'm an actor as well and know what it takes to go into them and everything. But I didn't care for this one, really. I just really didn't. And it's Attack of the Morningside Monster. I'm sorry I didn't like it. I just didn't care for it. Anyway, though, guys, thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.